today with Monica Long, General Manager of Ripple. My name is Rachel Wolfson. I'm a senior reporter with Cointelegraph, and I will be conducting this fireside chat with Monica entitled Breaking the Boys Club Culture in Crypto, How NFTs Are Bringing Women into Web3. So Monica, we'll start off with just getting to know what your impression of the crypto culture is and your own personal experience.
Very recently, many have probably read headlines about crypto culture coming from CEOs of some of the biggest companies in crypto. And I would say I haven't felt that their views necessarily represent the whole industry. I think perception of the crypto industry on the very positive side is that it's an ambitious endeavor. We're all kind of marching or charging against this big grand mission of creating a more inclusive financial future and financial system. And it's a firestorm of innovation and really interesting invention that's very transformative. There's a reason we call this the Web3 movement. Maybe on the not as positive side, there's a perception of not being a shining example of diversity and inclusion, or of being more kind of anti-government, anti-institution. But my experience, so I've been at Ripple for almost 9 years, joined in 2013, and my experience is far from that, from feeling that it's not a place for women or other underrepresented people. And I think things about Ripple's culture in particular that have not felt that way are everything from putting an emphasis and being deliberate about our hiring practices and getting representation at all levels of the company, especially in leadership positions and on our board, and also really cultivating and intentionally curating an inclusive culture through things like our employee resource groups for women, for being Black at Ripple, Able at Ripple, Pride at Ripple, all the different groups that are really, really active.
Right. Do you think that Web3 is bringing more diversity into the space? Why or why not?
I think it's gotten so much better. I mean, I can remember 2013, 2014, in those days, if I showed up anywhere, I was literally the only woman in the room. And now you can see it. Like, look at the people showing up at NFT.NYC. We're definitely seeing more diversity. I do think NFTs have been kind of a changing point or an inflection point for that. And I think it has to do with crypto kind of reaching the bend in that curve or that inflection point where people really are seeing the use cases behind it. They're making sense. There's things to build. There's work to do. So I think that's bringing a lot more people in. But I mean, the fact remains that maybe 25% of crypto holders are women, and less than 5% of crypto company founders are women. Less than 5%. So there's a lot of work to do.
Right. In terms of what Ripple is doing to kind of change those numbers, can you kind of give some examples?
Yeah, so I mentioned we have an emphasis on seeing better representation at all levels of the company, being, very self-aware as a company. We still have work to do. It's not, our numbers are not where we want them to be. But as one example, we implement the Rooney Rule. So this was made famous by the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he very intentionally interviewed coaches or other staff from underrepresented populations. So for every single position at Ripple, every hiring manager has to interview and put through the process at least 2 candidates from underrepresented populations. And it's definitely moving the needle. It's making a difference. But the other half of the equation is inclusion. So what's your culture like once people land in your company? If you are the only one at the table and you feel that your voice is not embraced, you don't feel safe and comfortable, I think that is really important. And that's been part of our values since day one. One of our values is say it. So we very much embrace a culture of transparency, two-way communication across the employee base and also with leadership. So there's no CEO on some dictator's platform telling us all how it is. There's two-way conversation, and people have psychological safety to speak their minds and say what's important to them.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the current state of the market. So given the current state of the market, why is it important for women to still get involved in this space?
Yeah, we can't ignore the stormy clouds above us. I've been through a few of these downturns, some really severe corrections or crashes. Notably in 2018, I kind of remember this story or this movie playing back then. Very normal cycles for any economy within an emerging space or emerging tech space like crypto, all the more normal that you're going to see really high highs, low lows. We had a high last year too. So in some way, it's healthy. You kind of have this correction. It sheds some of the projects it sheds some of the activity that's not above board, that's not serious or has real product market fit. So I think it's important to get involved now because crypto's not going away. Web3 is happening 100%, and this is going to be a time where builders build. And so I think it's really actually a great time to get involved in the industry.
Right. Well, with that being said, do you have any suggestions on communities or anywhere like Telegram groups or Discord channels for women to kind of get their foot in the door with the crypto and Web3 space?
I think that community groups are such a fantastic way to dip your toe in, kind of explore in a safe way. And so I would say I like some of the women's groups. It feels really welcoming and accessible if you're coming in as a woman to the industry. So some of the ones that I'm a part of are My BFF and Unstoppable Women of Web3. Albright, which was it's a large women's network, mainly based in Europe, but they have a sisters NFT group. I think what's cool about some of these Discord channels and Telegram groups is there's an openness to learn. You can ask anything. I think that's part of the intimidation factor is feeling like oh, I have a dumb question. It's like, no, everyone's learning. I've been at it for 9 years. I mean, Rachel, you've been in the space forever too, and it's impossible to know everything. We're all still learning every day, and so I think that accessibility is important.
Yeah, I mean, you make really good points. I've been in this space since 2017, and people think that I know everything because I'm a reporter and I've been in this space for that long, but I don't. And asking those questions are important and not feeling intimidated. You've just got to push through that because if you don't ask the questions, then you'll never learn. Monica, I think it's great, when I interview people like you because I feel comfortable. Maybe it's because, we're both women and I do feel, comfortable speaking with other women. But any advice you would give to other women out there looking to enter the space? Just, I know you've mentioned the Discord and the Telegram, but any advice that you would give just to help encourage that?
Yeah, so one is just the first kind of baseline of education and learning. Cointelegraph, reading, Rachel's work and her colleagues is a really great source. There's lots of content out there. So I would say learning that way. Podcasts are also a really great avenue. Actually, there's some great podcasts that are led by women. I was listening to Down the Rabbit Hole. There's The Defiant by Camille Russo. There's some great content that will help you start to learn more about the space, and then you can kind of gravitate toward your area of interest. So I think education, I think finding community and building a network that way. A lot of crypto does exist in online channels like Discord and Telegram, et cetera, and also in places like this at conferences. So for those who showed up, this is probably the most valuable way to connect, right? Is coming to conferences or also meetups. There's meetups happening all the time.
Right. With that being said, so with crypto, it's one of the guiding principles is decentralization, open source. We're a very open community. So Monica, I wanted to get your thoughts on if you think crypto is an industry that can do better than other industries in terms of bringing equity and equality into the space, just given the ideals that crypto is built upon.
Heck yes. Like, yes, the ideals, the whole point, actually, what attracted me to the space, probably many of us in the room, and you, Rachel, too, was the promise, this promise of building a financial system that's more democratically designed like the internet, more open like the internet, and that would rebalance power from the very few who have tight control over the financial systems and are the profiteers. And frankly, they also make the system much harder for everyone else to use, much less on our side, from everything from our identities to our access to financial instruments like loans. So reshifting that to the people, and that promise of an inclusive system means working for people like creators, for the unbanked and underbanked, and for women and people of color. I read recently 1 billion women still exist outside the formal financial system. Women in the US only got access to credit and the ability to put bank accounts under our own names in 1974. So, people kind of wonder, women aren't as involved in financial services or practices like investing. We were shut out of the system for so long. And so, man, what a royal shame it would be crypto won't realize its promise, frankly, if we don't have representation at the table designing the systems. And we've seen this in other areas of tech, like AI and data science, where there's inherent bias in design based on who's designing the systems. So it's really important.
Right. I mean, you make an interesting point, because when I entered the industry in 2017, I didn't have a financial background. I have a degree in English and political science.
Same. I also didn't.
Right. And so I think that's important for everyone to know. I had a liberal arts degree. I didn't know anything about finance. But I've learned so much about traditional finance and decentralized finance ever since entering this space. And just my advice that I would give to anybody wanting to learn is to talk to people, because I'm self-educated when it comes to cryptocurrency and blockchain. I've only educated myself by speaking with people like Monica, like people I meet at events and asking them the tough questions. And from that, I've learned so much about finance. So I just want to encourage everyone, if you see Monica or anybody else that you admire in this space after this panel, go up and talk to them, ask them the hard questions. You'll be surprised by how much you can learn in a short amount of time when it comes to this industry, and also about traditional finance, because it relates.
It's so early that ideas are fluid, and these concepts are still kind of taking shape and being molded. So, certainly even when someone purports, they have a lot of confidence, you think they're the expert, the ideas are changing. So it's all a big conversation we're having.
Right, but I think it's important for us to end on this note. Although we are in a bear market right now, it's crypto winter, Monica, we still need to encourage women to continue to get involved in the space, because I see, some people feel discouraged right now, and they're like, oh, maybe this isn't the space for me, or maybe, everything's going to zero, and that's just, it's not true. Now is the time that we need women to come in and build, because we need that diversity.
Totally. Yeah, big plus one to what Rachel said. It is never a better time to get involved.